Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
Hey, you nerds. So, in case you were wondering, what does Bollywood and vampire stuff have in common? You're about to find out on this week's episode where I, Jishnu, and Dinkar interview Shamik Dasgupta from Yali Dream Creations and Speech Bubble Entertainment, just to name a few, about some of his many comic books that he's written, particularly Caravan, TNT, and Rakshak, and everything in between. Happy listening. Ahoy, you nerds! Welcome to the Geek Podcast with me, Jishnu. I have Dinkar with me today. Say hello.
Hello.
I love it when you do what I say.
When I follow instructions.
Yeah, I know, it's
yes,
good.
okay.
It doesn't happen often, but it does sometimes. So this is the Geek Podcast, like I said. Thank you for listening. This week is a little bit different for all the right reasons. We don't do this nearly often enough. We're hoping to do this more often in the new year. We have with us a very special guest. We have Shamik Dasgupta, who is one of our native local comic authors. We've only had one other in the recent past, a few months ago, in one Aniruddha Chakrabarti. And Shamik is number 2, so second time around will be
hello,
as
everyone.
good, if not better. Say hello. Oh, yes.
Hello, everyone.
I didn't even have to say anything, and he did it. That was amazing. So Shamik is best known for, well, you know what? You tell me what you think. What do you think you're best known? Yeah, because you've done so much. I could rattle a list, but what do you think you're best known for?
So basically, I've been doing comic books for the last almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I started my career with Virgin Comics way back in 2004 and 5 when I started working on my first series called Ramayan Tithi 980, which I worked with Shekhar Kapoor and Deepak Chopra. It was my first breakthrough into comics. And I was very fortunate that my first breakthrough was... fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know. But my first breakthrough was published in US, not in India.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was, a bit of a bummer. But, still it's okay. Now the books are available in India through Westland. Now Virgin Comics has been changed into Graphic India.
Mm-hmm.
They're publishing all their old titles as, collected editions right now. And so there are 3 volumes of Ramayan Tithi 980 available.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find it everywhere in Amazon, Flipkart, Starmark, wherever you go. So that was my, I can say it was my, not only my breakthrough, it's my most popular work so far. Because as we know that we Indians are always into, we have a big hard-on for mythology.
Yeah,
of course.
True.
So did you say that it was a letdown that it was published in the States because the people there wouldn't have known much about the Hindu mythology?
Yeah, that was a little bit of a letdown.
Right,
because,
so you saw more success when it came back to India.
Yeah, no, the thing is when it came out in US, it had a lot of hullabaloo in India also.
Okay.
Because, nothing is...
Just take a sec. I love that you said hullabaloo. That's great. It's a word that doesn't get said nearly enough in this world. Thank you so much. Okay, please continue.
What happened was there was a lot of people, and in that time there was no Facebook, there was no, Twitter, no Instagram, nothing. There was only Orkut. And
Yeah, this was
that
thing.
That thing, wow, yeah. And High Five.
Yeah. I was not much into High Five, but I was very much into Orkut, right? The way I'm, now I'm in Facebook right
Sure.
now. So there was a lot of fan following in Orkut because, all these scans, they come out. Once they come out in US, they scan the books out. And there's a lot of pirated copies available in the net.
Mm-hmm.
So there was quite a fine following. A lot of people, it had this community called Virgin Comics had more than I think 3,000-4,000 people over there, and they
wow.
Yeah, and they were talking a lot about Ramayan Tithi 980,
Mm-hmm.
and thankfully I got very good reviews from different websites like Comic Book Resources and Newsarama.
Mm-hmm.
I know if you sieve through comic books, I think you know about these websites
Right.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. CBR is like the holy grail. pretty much.
Yeah. CBR, Bleeding Cool, everywhere. Whoever read the story, they liked it. They loved the new take on Ramayan because it was like a sci-fi.
It was a sci-fi version of it.
It was I maintained the spirit of the epic, it was still there.
Yeah.
The characters didn't act in ways that they shouldn't be, because it's Ramayan, and Rama and everything is it's a bit of a
Yeah.
So the thing is, I maintained the spirit of the story but added new elements more human elements, more sci-fi elements, more like tried to break it down logically, like all these things.
And it was a pretty great take because like when it came out, I remember we were super excited about Virgin Comics in general, even though they were super hard to get. They were available in India, but they weren't like being sold. Like,
no, the thing was like they had their comics division called Gotham Comics, which started with publishing DC and Marvel, and a few Dark Horse, I guess, also. But that line also they stopped publishing maybe after like it started I think in 1999 or something, and they ceased production in 2004, I guess. 2004-5, I believe.
Virgin Comics started around 2006, right?
2000. It actually started a little bit before. It started in 2004. Like the pre-production had started, and then we finally went into print in 2000. End of 2005 or 2006.
Damn.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so obviously you have a really extensive history within this field. So before we take a quick little break, could you just, as quick as you can, because it like I said, it's pretty extensive, as quick as you can, from the start in Virgin Comics, could you just bring us up to speed, just blow by blow of the various comics you've released, various companies you've worked with and for, and things like that, and then we'll spend the rest of the show just getting into each one of them one by one. So could you just give us a quick run down the list?
So like after Virgin Comics, I like when it shut down in 2008 due to economic recession and everything, I had a very hard time. I was out of job, and I was making a killing over there. They were giving me a very good salary, but suddenly, from here to here. And then the next couple of years was a bit of a struggle. I was doing a lot of things. I was writing content writing for web, and thankfully there were a few small comic book companies which had been popping up here and there now and then. But what happens with most Indian comic book companies, they come and go within a year.
They
or
have
two.
They fold up eventually.
So what was the next major one that you worked on?
The next one I worked was with a small company called Arkin Comics based in Pune. I did a series called Irith, which was sort of an Indian take on the G.I. Joe or stuff like that. We also had some super soldier kind of stuff.
Sure.
So it was fun, but it was short lived. I think only 2 or 3 issues came out. Then the company packed, and after that I was working on some some stuff that I can't talk about.
Okay. Then let's not talk about it.
And then in 2011 there was a company called Revolt Entertainment, which was a well-funded company, and they started their production of comic books and graphic novels. I joined there as a full-timer, and again, I don't know how this happens. Like whenever these companies start, they start very big. Okay.
Everybody starts with the big, boisterous.
And they fizzle out within a year or two.
Sure.
So the similar thing happened with Revolt as well. Like they had their big office in Andheri, and I shifted to Bombay that time. I was working full time. And side by side, I was working with a company called Level 10 Entertainment, which now they have become Nihodo Media. They have got some merger with some Japanese company, I guess. Level 10 was doing a good job. They were publishing a lot of comics. They were publishing this anthology magazines called Jump, which was almost like Shonen Jump in manga, so each magazine had around 3 stories. So I started my creator-owned title called Daksh, which was like a dark superhero. That also ran for around 5 or 6 issues, and then the company folded again. And I did a comedy series called Old School, which was my take on the detectives of Calcutta, like Feluda and all these guys.
Right.
So this guy was a stoner, and he's totally mad, he's crazy, and he thinks that he's like a great detective, like Holmes or.
Right.
So it was fun to do. We did around 3-4 comic books on that, and. We made a short film on that also, which got some awards here and there. So on the other hand, with Revolt, I was doing again another big, magnum opus called The Legends of Avian 9, which was supposed to be 7 graphic novels, each around 48 pages. Mm-hmm. What happened was only 2 came out in the market. We finished the entire work for the whole, gamut. Mm-hmm. All 7 books were completed, and it had beautiful artwork, there's some of the, and then the company folded.
Oh man!
So they've never seen the light of day.
2 books saw the light of day, but
so you're still sitting on the other 5?
They're sitting on the other 5.
Oh my god!
But the thing is, the CEO of the company did a sweet thing. He actually made a digital copy of all the digital print version of all the 7 books, and he gifted me that.
Okay, but so only you have it.
Only I have it.
Well, you already knew how it was going to end, anyways. I mean, like, I guess.
But again, it was like fun, but it was short lasting.
All right.
So then, what happened? I started working with Yali Dreams Creation, and I would say that this is the time when I got like hands on into the business.
Right.
Like my CEO Aswin Srivastava, he stays in US, but he started off very small, like with one graphic novel called The Caravan, and my pitch to him was like, he was not very much into horror. He was doing more like fantasy and stuff. He did some fantasy series called Nilakshi and Dynast and all these things. Mostly like like sci-fi with like little bit of like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that.
Okay.
Right.
So I told him that see, what you're making right now, he also had this aspiration that his work will be translated into films or whatever. So I told him that I can give you a pitch that I can guarantee will become a film.
Yeah.
Like, though I have no contacts in the film industry or anything like that. So I made this graphic novel called The Caravan, which is about Indian vampires. And 2.5 years later, now we have a film deal on it.
Yeah, that's great.
So
yeah,
it's kind of like full circle, because I think one of the reasons you could say guarantee that Caravan would become a film is your inspirations are clearly in like a lot of cinema.
Yeah. We're definitely going to get into Caravan.
So we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
What is there? And that actually had some sort of an ice breaking, like then he has, he has got more confidence, but we are playing it, like, we are running a really tight ship. We are not, our budget is not, like overspent. Whatever we are doing, we are trying to keep everything in a, in a tight rein. And I think right now, maybe we are going in the right direction. Side by side, I am also working with this company called Speech Bubble Entertainment. With them, I have written this series called Tarana Tantrik TNT, which I don't know, suddenly it became it had a lot of acclaim from a lot of people and from different websites and all this. And I believe also it's one of my best works.
Yeah.
So, these are the two things. And with Yali Dreams Creation, I am now continuing on working on some other projects like Rakshak, which is like an Indian vigilante superhero.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing another horror graphic novel called The Village, and a few more things which will be revealed in the next 3-4 months.
And are these other ones, like The Village and the other ones you have, are they with Yali Dreams, or are they
Yali Dreams? With Speech Bubble, I'm doing I'm doing the next installment of TNT.
Sure. Oh, okay. So I thought that TNT was done in the fourth copy. Oh, great. That's awesome. Well, okay. So we need to take a break. So we're just going to take a quick little break. And when we get back, we definitely want to talk more about TNT because Dinkar and I just finished reading that thing not very long ago. And we have a lot to talk about with that, along with Caravan and Rakshak specifically, because that's what's coming up next.
Hey guys, this is Malika Singhania, co-founder of the blog Stylogram, where we cover trends, fashion forecasts, celebrity style, tips and tricks, and lots more cool stuff. So tune in every Thursday to the Stylogram podcast, your weekly style telegram, giving you the latest fashion and beauty stories that are relevant to you. You can also subscribe to our show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Audio Boom, or any other local podcast app. See you soon.
Hey, welcome back to the Geek Fruit Podcast. I am Jishnu and I have Dinkar with me as per usual. Say hello again.
Sup, yo?
He didn't say hello.
Hello.
And we have Shamik Dasgupta with us again. And we should just get straight into it because you have so much to talk about and we will definitely not have enough time, as much time as we'd like. But so let's just begin with TNT because we recently just reviewed it as well and it's fresh on our minds. And it is, as you said, I agree, it is, you said it's one of your best works and I think it's a really, really fun read. And especially being a bong myself, I found it amusing on so many levels. I'm barely a bong in that, like, I was born and raised in Bombay, but, you know, my family is Bengali. So, but I do go back to Calcutta every once in a while, once a year or so on average, and I was just there a few weeks ago. And so there are a lot of these little details which I just personally appreciated a lot, which I don't know, you know, how much it's lost or not lost on non-bongs, but it was great nonetheless. So actually where I'd like to begin with dealing with TNT, we don't want to give away any spoilers because this entire thing... So actually, this is new for us. Normally, we spoil everything we talk about. This is actually good. This is one of the few episodes where we're not going to spoil anything. So let's just begin Why don't you, Shamik, just give us a sort of a synopsis, if you will, of who TNT is and what the story is about.
Well, TNT, the reason why we started on TNT was this company called Speech Bubble Entertainment. It's half Calcutta, half UK based company. The CEO is from, he's a Bong himself, but he is staying in US now. His name is Surojoy Bhaumik. So he wanted to start off a comic book company. And I think in 2013 we had a meeting, and he was very impressed with my previous works like Devi Chaudhurani and Caravan and Ramayana and all. So he was asking me what to do. So I told him that since you are also a Bong and I am also a Bong, and I believe that our target audience will be Bongs. Okay? So, but surprisingly, I will tell you, this is something which I have noticed. Like when I go to Comic Cons and everything, since I am managing the stall as well, so I will see that mostly from my customers, around 65 to 70% people who come to me, they are Bongs.
Really?
Well, that's what when we were at Comic Con Bombay just a few months ago, I was going around interviewing yourself and a whole bunch of the other authors that were there at their stalls, and I too noticed, why the hell is everybody Bong?
Yeah.
Not that it's a problem being Bong myself, but that's kind of cool. But
in terms of creators, most creators are Bongs.
It's not about it's not. Well? No, I'm not just talking about creators. I'm talking about the customers. Audience, right? And the customers,
that's
they're coming.
Amazing.
They're all 60 to 70%.
Go us, I guess. I don't know. There's something in the water. There's something in the fish.
There's something in the jhalmuri.
Oh my God. Speaking of the jhalmuri, I'm just going to just completely out of context. Just one quick excerpt that I think about every now and again. Whenever I tell somebody about TNT, people, it's sitting on my desk. If somebody comes over, the artwork on TNT is just beautiful, and all the cover photos, all the cover pages are really great, and the horror and the graphic nature of it is really compelling and really cool. So everybody notices TNT when it's just sitting on my table. Like, oh, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's an Indian book, Indian comic. Like, oh, that's cool. And then I just go one step further. I'm like, yeah, it's really cool because it's about Bong jokes, about dudes getting stoned and eating jhalmuri and falling asleep in the middle of an apocalypse. It's amazing.
I think one of the most useful things for us, the 35% minority of non-Bongs who read the books, is at the end of issue 4, I think we have this entire glossary of okay, for you guys, here's what all those Bong jokes were about. This is what an adda is. This was all the celebrities that you might have spotted in the India coffee house scene, and everything explained. And I was like, that's what was going on.
We had to do this, otherwise, a lot of things were.
I loved it. I loved it. But anyway, so we got totally off track. We tend to do that. So you were saying.
So he was asking me what to do. So I thought that, mainly Bongs, there are nostalgic, a lot.
Yeah, this is true.
So, if you want to do something new, okay, you will have to have a hard time, getting the market for that, getting the audience for it. If you want to do something completely new on yourself. So why not, get something from our literature, which we are very proud of. So let's pick some character from our literature.
Okay.
And make something new around him.
Sure.
So I was a few days back, not a few months back, I was reading Vibhuti Bhushan's work. I don't know whether you know what Vibhushan Bandyopadhyay. He is a very famous Bengali author, and on his, I think his first or second novel, Satyajit made his first film. It was called Pother Pachali.
Yeah.
So, and the entire trilogy of Apu, Vibhuti Bhushan is very famous, very revered. But when I was reading his entire omnibus, his works, everything, I noticed a character called Taranath Tantrik, and this was about this guy who lives in a very, a very dingy, typical North Calcutta kind of a small,
hovel.
And his main occupation is he's a palmist, so he reads reads palms, luck lines and everything, and he tells stories to people. Bengalis are very fond of these guys who are telling stories, you say Ghonada and all these people. So he's also a similar guy. He tells supernatural stories. So I thought that, okay, let's do something. Let's bring this guy to, modern perspective and build a new story around him. Change his looks, change everything, just keep the name and keep his origin same and do a completely new rehash on the character. Like the way, Sherlock has been made from Sherlock Holmes.
Sure. Taking inspiration from it, but not really the stories or the character itself.
So when we meet TNT at the very beginning of this, so just bring us up to speed to where he's at. as the first issue picks up.
Where is that? Like he's in his domicile, as we said, in the same, like humdrum, small, like rented apartment somewhere in the, like in the alleys of North Calcutta, or Mid Calcutta, Bhawanipur or somewhere, and they're just there. It starts off with an adda, like the way we three are talking, we are having a chat, like it starts off like that, and then slowly I keep ratcheting up the, incidents, like what is happening. I put a lot of political innuendos. I put a lot of, a lot of social commentary as well, and horror.
Yeah.
So that mixture, I think it worked for TNT. Like that political commentary, that social, imbibing the social strata, what is happening in Calcutta. You see, Calcutta is dying of mediocrity at this moment. Everything is mediocre over there. You see the movies, they are mediocre. The literature is mediocre. The politics is mediocre over there. And we don't have any proper leaders also.
Yeah.
So these things, these frustrations came out in, in the writing. But not in a very, what can I say? It was not in a very on-your-face way.
It's more satirical than angry, I would say, in a lot of parts. So TNT is basically like a supernatural detective, can we call him? So he's gone through like a lot. He's trained in the occult and stuff. And at the point we meet him, he's telling... basically in the Adda, he's telling the stories of how he went through that
and how his first encounter with the dark was.
Exactly. Right. So, and then like as the story progresses, we like a lot more unfolds. Like there's a bunch of flashbacks to in the 1970s when the whole Naxal movement was taking off, which ties into the story as it is currently. So how did you decide to mash up, like say, the supernatural and politics?
Something it came out naturally. I will say that it's the most naturally flowing story that I've ever written, because when I started off I didn't know how I'll end it. I didn't know what I will do in fourth issue. I knew what I had to do in first issue, and then as I went on writing it, I went on building up the story.
How long between the first and the last issue?
Around say like a year.
Okay.
A year. So I got time.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I was doing other things also.
Right. Yeah.
But this is one story which I didn't have to put any effort writing. Like it just came out, even the ending, I had no clue how I'm going to end the story. But I think it is one of the most satisfying ending I have written for any of my stories. One of the most. Ramayana was never ended.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So that would have been one of the best endings also. But the way I was planning how the story ends.
Sure.
But nobody will ever know. But this I wanted to put really like have a proper impact. Once the reader reads the book, there is a feel of catharsis.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
So
I got that.
Yeah, I wanted that to happen.
And what I found was a very pleasant surprise is that the cover, at least of the very first issue, and the first couple pages are very appropriately misleading in all the right ways. In that, when I picked up the book, I thought I was going to get one type of a story, and I thought it was going to be a very specific set piece kind of a thing that is very cookie cutter. In that, I thought it was a supernatural detective. I thought it was going to be like a superhero, supernatural sort of me versus evil forces kind of thing, which is, yes, it is. Now, obviously, I don't want to get into spoilers and get into how things twist and turn, but what was really neat is that there was this vague sort of Scooby-Doo aspect of it, which I don't mean in any kind of bad way. I just mean that like it's him with his pals, and they're just trying to solve a murder mystery, solve a crime. Obviously, it's on a gigantic scale. And then next thing you know, you turn the page, and it's graphic as hell. Like it was advertised, yes, graphic and gory. It's PG-13 technically, right?
It's
something like that. I was like, this is not PG-13. This is definitely not PG-13. Like whatever the rating it was, I was like, this is wrong. It is not this. It is far more adult than this rating says it is.
That rating was actually misleading.
I was like, this is a very incorrect rating. I would not give this to a 13-year-old. But that being said, it was great. So it's full of surprises in all the right ways, I think. Especially just in terms of tone and themes, and the way that the character was used was that even though it's called TNT, again, I liked that it felt more like an ensemble sort of thing. Even though it's advertised as it is a story of him. It's about everybody else. This is something
very important that you have raised.
Yeah.
Because this story is not about TNT. It's not just about TNT.
Yeah.
The entire the cast of characters, they're important to the story.
The city itself.
The city itself
one
is
of the
very
most
important.
truest examples of when they say that, the city is a character. I think this is very much it.
Yeah.
Especially with the flashbacks and the political, references and whatnot, and how it all ties in together, and the family history through the timeline and things like that. Like the city really plays a big role, far more than most other stories.
And you will, and one thing I would like to raise a point actually. The thing is, all the characters in this book are based on real people.
Oh, okay.
Every single one.
Every single one.
Oh wow.
Like the police officer, Rono Joy Yogi.
Yeah.
There was actually a person like that.
Oh wow.
His name was Runuguhun Yogi.
Okay.
And he was notorious. Like, he had a lot of pending cases on him. I think he passed away. He was like, it's based on that character. But I gave him my own, interpretation.
So did you already know about these people's stories before you wrote the thing, or did you look for them in writing?
No. Okay. I knew about this. It's part of my growing up. Look.
Sure.
So TNT is basically the culmination of my growing up in Calcutta, you can say. Like the way I like whatever I have seen, whatever I experienced in Calcutta, this was the place where I poured it all.
Right.
And that is why this was very easy for me. Though it was one of the most complex stories that I've written, like flashbacks, then coming back to present, and then, so many characters. But, it all fell into play, and all the pieces fell into place. Yeah. It was just, I didn't have any, hard time, figuring out what to do next. It just happened. And the good thing is, right now, TNT is coming in Bengali as well. So,
right, I've been seeing those posts as well,
Yeah, so this is going to turn a lot of heads. In a good way or a bad way, I don't know. Because, I don't know how much you are aware of the Bengali literature and comic scene.
Not much.
So, Bengal had a very rich, history of comic books. Beginning from, say, 50s and it till, mid-80s or something like that. They were fantastic creators, like Narayan Debnath, Mayuk Chaudhary, Shoilen Ghosh, beautiful artworks, beautiful work and everything. But it was mostly catered for children. And I don't know why in the Bengali society, whenever there is genre literature, say like adventure, detective, horror, everything, it is always targeted towards children. Like they say, okay, it's a horror story, it's for children. Okay, it's an adventure story. So I wanted to break that norm.
Sure.
I wanted to break this. I wanted to, I wanted to shock the people and tell them that no, genre writing can also be for adults.
Sure. Yeah.
This was you can say also my jihad against, this typical, this psychology of bongs that, whenever the genre story is always meant for children. And it's a process that has been coming for most of even Satyajit Ray, you see, whenever these genre stories are all meant for children.
Right.
So you will see that in Feluda also, recently I was reading this article that came out, and this director called Q, he projected, and there was a lot of bashing going on. So it's a beautiful article. I will forward you,
sure.
the link. Where the writer, she has explained that how Feluda is a sort of you can say a feudal hangover, the feudal society of Bengal,
right.
The zamindars and everything, and it's a result of an hangover, and still we are on this, and it's a very asexual, a very homogeneous world. So that is the norm that I wanted to break. You will see that my world is not homogeneous. Here, bad people can do good things, good people can do bad things.
Yeah, that's
true. Which is true. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely in TNT you see that. Well, so at the top of the show you mentioned, one of the first things you said was that, we have a hard-on for using mythology, our own mythology in all of our stories. So obviously TNT plays into that, that's how he gets his beginnings, and you based it obviously on a pre-existing story. So, it is, while it's an original story, it is, based on something that is laced fully with mythology. There's also that in Caravan, which we can talk about in a second. There's full of mythology there. Why do you think that is? Question one. And question two, do you enjoy that you have to stick with that? Do you enjoy that gives you does it give you boundaries which you welcome? Or would you prefer if you could just go Rambo and do what you want, make your own story. It doesn't have to have any tie into the fact that we are Indian or that you are Indian and you're writing for an Indian audience. It's just like, it's a story about people. Because at the end of the day, what I really liked about TNT, for instance, and it's fresh on my mind, so I'll mention that, is that it was very amusing for me, like I said, being Bong myself, seeing all these references and whatnot, but it was a street level story, right? I can't quite say that you could have, replaced Calcutta with any city, because there were a lot of very Calcutta-specific things, but it's about the ensemble. And when it's about the ensemble, it didn't really play into the culture so much so as more of their relationships with each other and just, So, do you welcome the fact that we have such a hard-on for mythology and that everybody has to, at some point or the other, every comic book author in India is writing based off of some mythological something or the other? Or would you just prefer if you could just go and do your own thing?
Like the reason that why this trend is still going on, though it is changing, it is evolving, the reason is we don't have a very strong popular culture of our own, except Bollywood, you can say.
Right. Which is also, again, started, at least, and still has mythological roots to it in some shape or form.
I'm saying we don't have a very strong popular culture. Like if you see like in US or Japan or everything, they have got their very strong popular culture on which that is the building blocks on which they build their future stories.
Right.
So since we don't have that strong popular culture which has been growing for the last post-independence, we have got almost nothing. Pre-independence, we have some historical stories, and then we go back into mythologies.
Right.
So, like in US, they created Superman from scratch. They created Batman from scratch. We didn't have anything that we can start from scratch,
right?
Except some comedy characters and like cartoons like Supandi and all these guys, Shikari Shambhu and all. Either it was influence from US, like more like a lot of Raj Comics characters, like Doga is almost based on Punisher, and Super Commando Dhruv is very much close to Dick Grayson, and like that kind of Robin kind of. So like either it has to influence for something West, or it has to be influenced by our mythology, because our mythology is the only strong popular culture that we have.
And why do you think we have to have it being influenced from the West? Do you think it needs that seal of approval?
I don't think so. I don't think so. We don't need to be influenced by West. We can obviously we can take the good things that they have done, and we can try to emulate on that. But we don't need to get inspired from what they have done. Of course, you can say that TNT might be an inspiration, say like John Constantine, Hellboy, stuff like that. But it is my own creation. You won't see anything which is like his characteristics, his looks, and whatever he's doing, the story.
Yeah.
You won't see any resemblance to John Constantine or Winchester Brothers or anything like that. It's an original character. Maybe the mood is same. That's it.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that makes me think
about... But what I really dislike is basically telling the nth version of mythological stories over and over again with new graphics and
retelling of a
retelling.
A direct retelling. Yeah, of course.
I hate it. I hate it. And some of the... I won't take names, but some of the most well-funded companies are going on doing this again and again.
Yeah.
So I really... There's no growth.
You're rehashing the same story.
You're rehashing the same story. There's no growth. So what is the reason?
So, all right. So I think we've got a good much about TNT already. I don't want to get into it too much more for fear of giving too much away. Got to leave that open for people. So let's just turn the page to Caravan. So you mentioned that Caravan now is getting turned into a film, right? So that was the core intention at the very beginning of it, right? You said you pitched it as with that idea, with that intent in mind.
No, the story which I built was very filmy, very Bollywood. So, but keeping the basic, this was made in first when I came up with this idea, that was in 2007, I believe, so 7 or 8.
Sure.
And that time I was in talks with Raj Comics to work with them, and do some recreating some of the characters, making a new version. I was thinking of creating an Ultimate Universe, making the characters, giving my own version of them, and
Interesting.
And I pitched this story to them, and it didn't work out,
right?
Because they have their own way of working, which I won't comment on too much. Then it was in the back burner. So. But what I believed was this is a story which is very accessible. Like for TNT, you will have to read and you have to put a lot of brain. This is a no-brainer kind of a story. So this is like.
So can you give our listeners a little taste of what Caravan's about?
It's a story of one night, actually. It's a story about this group of vampires who are guised as banjaras, gypsies.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is it is their modus operandi. It is basically they go from village to village at night and looking at their glamour, and they're they're very, it's run by this queen called Bhairavi, and she has got a group of girls with her and some performers. There is a dwarf, there is a strong man, there is a thin man, and everything. So and people get enamored by them. People get they get dazzled by the glamour, and they say that we want shelter for one night, and in exchange of that we will entertain you. And as you know, the vampire lore goes that you have to invite a vampire to come
into your
in.
house. Yeah.
They can't come in just like that. So that is the way they get invited.
Yeah.
And once they come in, they create havoc. So there's a story about this. In one night, this one single boy, he survives. The entire village is slaughtered. He survives. He was hiding in the cellar or something. And then we flash forward almost 23 years ago when he's an adult. And his name is Asif, and he's a smuggler.
Yeah.
He smuggles DVDs.
Yeah.
So he smuggles from Pakistan and sends to Pakistan, and he makes his money really living out of that. So this guy is a very brash, wisecracking kind of. Then maybe from his childhood trauma, this is his way of coping up. He's irreverential about everything. He doesn't care. He gives a damn about the world. So he gets arrested by this cop called Jay. And this cop, he was thinking that he was actually, smuggling weapons and drugs and stuff. So, but he finds out that he's smuggling DVDs. So what he does is he arrests him and he's going with him. And on the way, the tire gets punctured, and they had to take refuge in a castle, in an old, Rajasthani castle. And this castle is run by the border security force and their leader and their captain called Daroga Bhairav Singh. And Daroga Bhairav Singh, he hates Muslims. He has got, because his brother, he died in the 26/11 massacre.
Right.
So the moment he sees him, he thinks that he's a criminal, and he goes on.
He starts beating him.
Yeah. So then what happens? Then there is a little. Then he has got. There's another character called Durga, who is actually the Daroga's niece, and she has come to Rajasthan to take her uncle back home because he's been there for a long time. It's almost like he's in an exile or something. So then this guy gets arrested, and then he's put in a small, a tehkhana somewhere. And in the night, he listens to there's a montage that happens whenever the vampires come. So there is a tune of flute.
Yeah.
So which is also very Bollywoodish, there is a storm and there's a music, and then these guys come. So he can listen to that music once again, and he thinks that okay, they're coming back, and he goes out to tell everyone, nobody believes in. And then what happens? That's the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's mayhem, really.
It's mayhem. And the thing is, the way the story unfolds is very, it's a little bit of buddy cop, a little bit of vampire, a little bit of monsters,
there's a lot of elements in there. I think here again, much like TNT, there's a bunch of almost fake outs where when it starts out, at first you think you meet Jay and he's being a massive tool to our hero who's only smuggling DVDs, and he's I don't care, I'm taking you in anyway. And again you think alright, this is the guy I'm supposed to hate, but he turns out to be one of the heroes.
He becomes
he redeems himself. And so there's a bunch of twists and turns and a lot of different elements.
Bhairav Singh also, he comes off as an absolute asshole. He's a racist. He's but in the end, you know what happens. So the thing is, this is what I like to do with my characters. When they come off, you have an impression about them, and then through the story they change. So that is how I like to develop my characters.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things which I've learned from some of the good films that I've seen, like Aliens. You see the way things start off, in the end they change.
Right.
Like the way Ripley starts off. She starts off as a very meek, she's terrified of the monster, and then she becomes this powerful woman who fights the queen in the end. So these are the things I like, evolution in my characters.
So your characters do actually develop
quite a bit. But so then, let's get to Rakshak, because Rakshak is now that's the main one that you're publicizing, you're pitching. 2 issues of 3, I believe, right?
No, it's going to be 4.
Oh, 2 of 4 are out, right?
The first arc is going to be 4 issues. Okay. Each book is around 72 pages, so it's going to be a massive series.
So the second one just came out like not too long ago.
Yeah, second one came out in Delhi Comic Con.
Yeah.
Third one is coming next year. This year. Mm-hmm. I think in the first quarter or the first half or something.
And could you give us a taste of what Rakshak is about?
Well, Rakshak is the most tough concept I have to explain to people. When I say that, okay, it's a vigilante, you'll say that, okay, we have seen a lot of vigilantes. We have seen, we have seen Batman, we have seen, Kick-Ass, we have seen Daredevil. So this is actually my take on a vigilante superhero. And I can only say that, I tried to tell this story in a very realistic way. Mm-hmm. This can happen. When you read the book, you will feel like, okay, this can happen. It's not suddenly one guy, he becomes, he gets some chemical thrown in his eyes and he becomes blind, but he gets supernatural senses. Okay. Yeah, so basically this guy is an ex-army captain, and he was with the Marine Commandos, and he was he was leading his last mission, and in that mission something very bad happens.
Sure.
And he loses his left hand in an explosion, and then he tries to settle back into his normal family life. He doesn't have much of a family. He has got only one twin sister who had migrated to US. She has got an American husband and a daughter, and her daughter is basically she's upset that she has to relocate to India, because she, his sister, decides to support her brother, because he's totally alone. There's no one. So they start a new life in their ancestral home. And though his niece, she starts off as hating him because of our hero Aditya Shergill. He starts off as hating him, and then they have this close bond, because both of them, they have this affinity towards comics. She likes more of the new stuff, say what is happening in Batman and the New 52 and all this new, and he's more of the old school type, he likes Phantom and all this, and he likes the old Batman, when Batman didn't have any armor, he was just wearing spandex and everything.
Yeah.
So they have a bond, and then something bad happens. And because I won't say what happens actually, because I don't want to spoil anything. Something very bad happens to his family.
Okay. Yeah.
And which has got some social relevance also. I'll just giving hints. Okay,
which has got just a flavor.
Social relevance also, because it's also related to something which happened a couple of years back, which became a shame of our nation. You can say that. So anyway, I took inspiration from this, and this is what happens to his family. And then he decides to become a vigilante. So the way I approached the story was how practically a person can become a vigilante. Okay, he has got the training. Mm-hmm. He was a Marine commander, but he doesn't have his left arm.
So it's not a superhero story. There's no superness in this. It's a hero. He's a vigilante hero.
Yeah, he's a protector, you can say.
He's a protector. Silent protector.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. That's
so
great.
Batman is the one thing which I did was, if you see most of the Indian superheroes, they try to maintain, okay, there are no superheroes in the world except ours.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, whenever they create superheroes.
Right,
okay.
right.
So, but I said that no, it's not like that. Okay. He's a normal guy like you and me, and he has seen all these movies,
right?
And he has read all these comic books, and that has inspired him to become a superhero. So that was there. So Batman has been mentioned a lot of times in the story. So
cool.
So basically, you will see that you will relate to this character once you read it.
So then, to that end, this is just taking 3 of the. Do you know exactly how many comic stories you've worked on? Do you know the definitive number? It sounds like over
50, I guess.
Jesus. Okay.
Wow.
Well then, so just taking a very small sample of just these 3, which are 3 of the latest ones you've done, 3 of the bigger ones you've done definitely as well. They're pretty different, each of them apart, right? Mm-hmm. Yet there's the same. There seems to be the strain that sort of keeps them all together is that there's the social consciousness, there's the relevance to the current times, and tying everything back to that. A lot of pop culture references. So, and obviously with Caravan now potentially getting into, or rather getting made into a film, one of the big tropes now that is incredibly common in the Western pop culture is having multiverses and extended universes where everything is connected and everybody knows each other in some shape or form and whatnot. And the last episode where we had an author on was Aniruddha Chakrabarti, and his Vrika series, just at the end of his latest Damned series, met up. And so he started his own thing now where he's said, well, you know what, that's just the times we live in. I felt like, why not make my comics also part of this multiverse? Have you given any thought to doing that? Is that on the horizon potentially, to have one of your 50 creations meet another one? Is that potential?
Whenever I tried to do that, the company shut down.
So it's not for lack of trying.
Not a lack of trying. No, the other thing is, Aniruddha can afford to do it because he's running his own company.
Right.
So comic book is not his bread and butter. I make my living writing comic books.
No, fair enough. Oh, absolutely.
So I have to, deliver on things. I can't, go, ballistic with, whatever I have in my mind. Then I can create maybe 100 universes.
So have any of these ever been written with that intent in mind, with the at least with the hope that, hey, I'm going to leave this hole open in TNT's plot, such that potentially the Caravan mistress might just come in one day and,
Yeah.
Do you do that consciously?
We had some plans like that. Okay. But then one is owned by one person,
Sure.
the other is owned by another person. They might have their differences.
Yeah.
Even though because right now I'm telling you, comic book doesn't have much money in it. Until and unless, seriously, I'm telling you, until and unless you try to pitch it to something else. You try to you go mass media with that. It's the same that is happening in the West.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm writing very, stories which can be translated into, film, there's simple reason, to survive. That's it.
Absolutely. You have to do what you have to do. Funny little thing was that when we got TNT, when Geek Fruit bought TNT, actually, I think we picked up 3 of the 4 copies in Pune Comic Con last year, and I think he was sold out of one of them. I think it was the third one, and so I had to buy it online, and so I bought it online, and so we got it, like a month or something later. And what was hilariously endearing was when the book came, it arrived in a brown school notebook packaging, like the brown school notebook cover paper that you would wrap all your school notebooks in. It came in that packaging and in a plastic bag with a simple little label on it with my address. Addressed to Geek Fruit. And I was like, this is great because, at the time we had only been around for like 3 or 4 months, if even, maybe even less. And we were getting a comic book from an Indian author, and which was the first comic book that officially Geek Fruit had owned. It was like, hey, this is like our company's first book. That's great because that's one of our big MOs, is we want to help promote the Indian community of comic book authors. Yeah. And the first one we get is wrapped up in this plastic bag in a school notebook. It was just really endearing because we were like, it's such a grassroots company or production that
did you buy it from Yali Dream Creations?
Yeah, no, I bought it from Speech Bubble, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I bought it from Speech Bubble. It was wrapped in this cute little thing, which was great. I was like, this is appropriate, and I'm happy to help you guys out, and this is fantastic.
What is happening is basically...
It's very telling.
Yeah, because what is happening is most of these companies, these new indie companies, they are... they have started their own, web portals because, we can't depend on Amazon and Flipkart. Right. Because most of first of all, if you want to promote your book in Amazon, which can be done as well, you have to know the business very well. Until unless you're in retail business, you won't. There are some companies, I won't tell any names or anything, but who are coming up with not, very mediocre quality books, but just through marketing in Amazon, they're selling more copies.
Right.
So, on the other hand, most of the big companies, say like Amar Chitragatha, they give, they pay for, their book to be, projected and everything. And Amar Chitragatha is owned by IBH, India Book House. So basically they are everywhere.
Right.
So we don't have that network. So we have started our own, everyone has started their own web portals.
Right.
So in that way we are directly reaching the audience.
Yeah.
We are giving free gifts.
Yeah.
We are giving signed copies and everything. So in that way we have got a, a more close connection with our audience. That is very important.
So in your past decade, now that you're actually working with 2 very successful independent comic book companies, as compared to before when you were working with a behemoth like Virgin and that shut down. So do you feel like the comic book audience in industry in general has progressed over your decade?
They are adapting. They haven't progressed. I can't say that there is a huge progress, but people are adapting. Okay. People are adapting to the, what can I say, the hurdles that we face.
Right.
The landscape.
The first of all, distribution, production, everything. Like so. Like when we are approaching comic book in a more now we are taking it in a more logical and realistic way.
Right.
Because before now, since I know the business, okay, now I'm in everything. I take care of the printing. I take care of the, like my family, like my dad takes care of the logistics. He sends the books and everything because my CEO is sitting in US.
Right.
So we take care of everything over here. So, but anyway, he's also very supportive. Like he has been very supportive throughout the years. But in a way, I feel that I'm hands down into the business right now.
Right.
I can understand. Okay, these are the realities. These are where I can cut the cost. These are where I can make money and stuff like that. I'm learning a lot of new things. I'm learning about the business. Before I was just the creator. Okay, I'm
and waiting on somebody else to sell it for you. Somebody else to do the grunt work.
I'm thinking okay, I am like Alan Moore. I'm like Neil Gaiman and everything. But now I'm humbled. I am I'm understanding. Like going to Comic-Con, each customer, I'm asking them, take this book. You won't be disappointed. He will say, okay, this, okay, that, and some people will say that, okay, nice artwork. Who is the artwork? And then he will spend 5 minutes of my time and then he will go away. It's so irritating, man. So but you have to do this. You are humbled in that way. So that is the new things that I'm learning.
Right.
I have matured in this.
Fair enough, man. Well, we could talk to you for quite a while. We've only done 3 of the 50 or more, so I'm sure we'll do this again. We'll almost definitely have you back when you have the Rakshak series finished up. I'm sure we'll get you back definitely by then, if not sooner. But before we go, can you just tell our listeners where they can buy some of your books, where they can get a hold of you on the interwebs and places like that?
Yeah, you can come to anyway. It is available in Flipkart or Amazon. You just have to type the name of the books: Tarana Tantric, TNT, The Caravan, Rakshak, whatever. It's available everywhere. But I'd suggest that come to our website, which is yalidreamcreations.com, and check out our books. There we will give you goodies also, like if you buy from us. So we'll give you posters, and you can get signed copies and stuff like that. And you can connect me through Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook. You just have to search Shamik Dasgupta and see a bearded guy over there. So you can connect me. Nowadays I'm doing it because before I used to put pictures of my character and stuff. Yeah. Then it's very hard to identify who's the.
That's fair enough, man. Well, so like you said, you can find him all over the interwebs, and you can find us as well as per usual every week at www.geekfruit.in. You can get a hold of us by just pressing the little contact button. You can follow us on the social medias at GeekFruitHQ. You can follow me on my Twitter at Jishnu Guha. You can follow Dinkar at
Dinks Thinks.
What he said. And also we have our review of TNT up on the website as well, so you can find that there. We have a video interview with the man himself as well on our YouTube channel from the previous Comic-Con in Bombay just a few months ago.
Yeah, all that and much more on geekfruit.in.
Much more.
Much more.
much more. So cool. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Shamik.
Thank
you
so much
for having us.
Thank you, Dinkar.
I'm sure we'll see you again soon. Hopefully soon enough.
Of course.
Yep. And thanks for listening, you nerds.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Jishnu from Geek Fruit.
Hey, Tejas from Geek Fruit. I'm in dire need of some eloquent conversation.
So, let me tell you about something that is not our show.
Thank God.
It's the podcast, which comes out exclusively on Savan on Fridays, perfectly in time for the weekend.
I need to know things about Bombay. Do they talk about that?
Well, you should listen to the podcast, which comes out exclusively on Savan on Fridays.
It's a fun pun.
Our podcasts bring all the boys to the yard, and damn right, they're better than yours. But you don't need to stand outside in the yard. Just follow IVM Podcasts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We might be on Tinder too. Just go ahead and swipe right.